Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Jennifer McVicker, and today I'm going to be sharing some of my tips and tricks for managing software projects in full context with Jira Software. I have enabled the Q&A portion, so if you see at the bottom of your Zoom screen an option to click Q&A, you can enter in a question, or you can raise your hand, and I'm happy to let you actually ask your question in person. So let's go ahead and dive in. First of all, I'm just going to go over a brief agenda here. I'll have some introductions about who I am, who Agile Coaching Group is, and then we'll go into some really basic Jira information, Jira basics, and then move on to the advanced project boards. And finally, Q&A and some other offerings from Agile Coaching Group. So my name is Jen McVicker, again. I'm a technical program manager at Envision. They are a software as a service company that provides software for designers and engineers to create prototypes and design web pages. So prior to becoming a program manager, I spent 17 years as a full stack engineer at a variety of different startups. Then I moved into project and program management and Jira administration, which I've done for the past 7 years. I am IC Agile certified in Agile coaching and Agile team facilitation, and have in the past been certified as a certified Scrum professional, both Scrum Master and product owner. Agile Coaching Group is a group of folks that are Agile coaches, and we offer customized training and consulting services led by Agile coaches around the world with real-world experience. There are courses in scaled Agile framework, Agile at scale, certified Scrum Master and certified product owner, as well as some extended training programs that Agile Coaching Group offers. I'll provide some links for that at the end of the presentation. So before we get started here on the Jira basics, I'm just going to send out a poll here and ask you how much Jira experience you have. So I've just launched that poll, and go ahead and answer. And I'll keep an eye on it and see what folks pop in there. All the answers are anonymous. I'm not going to call you out. Okay. Looks like we have about half the people have worked in Jira previously, and half of you have no idea what it is. So this is going to be some of this may actually be a little advanced for those of you who haven't had any Jira experience in the past, but I will go over some of the basics here real briefly. So just pull. And let's go over the Jira basics. So I've linked here the documentation. I'm going to send out this slide deck to everybody who's attending the presentation after we wrap up the webinar. So you'll be able to go ahead and click on that link to go to the Jira documentation on the Atlassian site. So Atlassian Jira is a product that is used frequently by software engineering teams, although it can be used for lots of other different types of teams as well. And as the name implies, it is generally geared towards software engineering. However, Jira is extremely flexible and can be used to manage all kinds of projects. There are a few different flavors of Jira. There is server Jira, where you would host Jira on your own servers and you would manage it and be responsible for upgrades and so on and so forth. And then there is the cloud version of Jira, which is what we're going to be working in today. So server Jira has, because it would be under your own control, there is an element of additional security there. But cloud Jira in the premium plan has enhanced security features as well. So plugins, which are additions that you can add on to Jira to give it enhanced functionality. Those plugins may work differently on Jira Cloud versus on Jira Server. And all of the pricing for Jira and for each of the plugins is based on the number of users that you have on the platform. So one of the plugins that is quite different between cloud and server version is Script Runner. And that's one that's extremely popular because there are really quite a lot of enhanced searching functionalities that it provides, as well as some other functionalities that I'll go into briefly. Pricing, again, is handled a little bit differently for user licenses and plugin licenses. So usually for the free version of Cloud Jira, you can have up to 10 users, but there's minimal features. There's a standard version, which includes more file storage, more support, audit logs, anonymous access, and advanced permissions, which can be really helpful if you're trying to create a lot of different types of roles that have access to different areas and different functions in Jira. And then there's the premium plan, which also includes plans. This was previously called Jira Portfolio, and it's a holistic roadmap. So you can pull in multiple projects into a single roadmap and be able to see where all of those line up and create dependencies between them. This we will not be going over today. We're going to be using the standard version of Jira Cloud today, but I just wanted to give you some information about the different options that are available to you in premium. So there's also project archiving, IP filtering for additional security, so you can lock it down to a specific IP network. Unlimited file storage, some user statistics, and SLA of 99% uptime, as well as the premium support. So projects in Jira. I'm actually going to skip ahead for a second because there's so many folks here that have never used Jira before, and I'm just going to show you this object hierarchy first. So in Jira, you can have multiple projects. Each project contains one or more epics, or actually you can have 0 epics. You don't have to assign these other items to epics, but a project can contain epics. Epics can contain one or more stories, tasks, bugs. Stories can just be associated with a project and not with an epic, if that's something that that you don't think is useful for you. But a lot of people find that having the multiple levels of hierarchy does work out well for them. And then underneath stories, tasks, bugs, whatever, you can have subtasks. So there's an epic level, there is a standard issue type level, which is stories, tasks, bugs, and actually epics are included in that standard issue type level. And then there is the subtask level, which is never a standalone. A subtask is always associated with a story or something, either an epic or a story, or a task or a bug, something along those lines. So let me just go back here and talk about the different types of projects that we have in Jira. So there are classic projects, which are much more flexible, but they're also more difficult to maintain. You have the ability to change a lot of different things in classic projects. You can change up screens and workflows, but you can do that in next-gen projects as well. But you can also change like permission levels and that sort of thing. Classic projects are restricted to Jira administrators. Only Jira administrators can create classic projects. Anybody can create a next-gen project. And I'll show you both of these in just a little bit. Next-gen projects do include a roadmap feature, but the dependencies on that roadmap, it's like a Gantt chart. So the dependencies are only on epics. You cannot display the dependency of a story on another story. One of the benefits of classic projects is that you are able to share schemas across projects, and this is really, really important when we're talking about working with multiple teams and multiple projects, and teams that are working with multiple projects, and projects that have multiple teams on them. Sharing those schemas is really critical, especially the workflow, in order to make sure that boards are set up in the same way across different projects, and that tickets can be used by different teams using the same board layout, basically. So shared boards, that's what we're going to be talking about a little bit later today. That's kind of the secret sauce with classic projects, is that you can create boards that include all of these different projects and all of these different teams, and kind of have a matrixed view and a simplified view for the team members. So next-gen projects also does not have time tracking at this time. So if that's something that's important to you and to your team, you would want to probably stick with classic projects. And like I said before, this webinar is going to focus on Jira Software Cloud, mostly using classic projects, but I will also show you the next-gen projects for that matrix team and project management. Does anybody have any questions so far? I haven't seen any come in. Okay. So for project boards, we have a couple of different options. You can create either a Scrum board or a Kanban board. And boards are tied to projects, but they're not necessarily tied to a single project. A project can contain multiple boards, and multiple projects can be displayed in a single board. So I'll be showing you that in just a minute. If your teams or your projects do not all have the same sprint cycles, so if they're not all starting on the same Monday and ending on the same Friday, you will want to be sure to enable parallel sprints by going into your Jira settings to products, and then Jira software configuration to check that box for parallel sprints. And I'll show you that in just a sec. So now I'm going to go ahead and switch over to showing you Jira. Okay, so when you first log into Jira, this is showing all of the projects that I have set up. I've got 2 next-gen projects, so I'm going to go over those first really briefly because we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on those. This first project, you can see that you've got a basic board here, but you can add more columns if you want to. So say I want to have an in review column, and I would want to move that over so that the done column is always the last one. That check mark means that once a ticket gets to that column, it's closed, it's done. So this is essentially your workflow. You don't really have a workflow schema that you set up like you do for classic projects. And if you go into the backlog here, you can see these are the different tickets that I've entered in, and I can go ahead and start this sprint. And now my tickets are going to show up on my Kanban board here. So this is a Scrum board on a next-gen project. So here you can see it's got there's actually several different sprints that I've created. I've created a few for further on out. And if you look at the roadmap view, you can see under this epic all of the tickets that are in there. We've got one in progress, one done. But what you don't see is these issues being mapped out to the particular sprints that they're in. You can make, excuse me, there we go. You can make an epic be dependent on another epic by linking them together. You just drag and drop here. But that doesn't really do a whole lot for, you can see that the tickets underneath that epic just move out with the epic. They don't actually have any bearing on when they are scheduled for. This is different from the way that Jira Plans works. Jira Plans will actually show you on a calendar view like this where your individual stories and tasks are on the calendar, where they're scheduled for. So go back to the backlog here. And there are some reports that you can see in the next gen projects, but they're not, there's not as many different types of reports as there are in classic projects. There's just the burn up, a burn down, velocity report, and the cumulative flow diagram. Cumulative flow is an interesting chart if you've never looked at it before. This can show you where you are encountering bottlenecks in your system. So if you have, you can see that the to-do is taking up the most of it, and we've had one ticket done already. But if you have one of the statuses that is particularly larger than another, such as if I had this in review, if I had a ticket that was in review for like a week, then that would show as a larger bump on this screen, and you would be able to see that that was a bottleneck for this particular project. So if I go back to my projects here, now I'm going to show you a classic project. So I've created one called Agile Coaching Group. And in it, I have several epics. I have a version. And if you expand these, you can see the epics and the versions in here. And you can actually move them. If I wanted to move this from the shopping cart to, say, the product catalog, you can just drag and drop there. Super easy. And this also has a Kanban screen, but this is more, you can't just click a plus button and have it show up on this screen. You actually have to go into this 3 dots here and click on board settings. And if you go to columns, you can add and remove columns here. One thing that you want to make sure you do when you're setting up your boards, make sure that there are no unmapped statuses. If you have unmapped statuses, then you will you'll have tickets that either can't move on your active board, or else they disappear from your active board, and it can get extremely confusing. So, all right. Now we're going to jump into the project settings. This is kind of where the secret sauce is. In project settings, there's a summary view where you can see all the different schemas that are used for this project. So I've created a common workflow called Agile Workflow Scheme, and it's got one for the standard Jira tasks, so stories, tasks, bugs, and then one for subtasks. So if I look at this, I prefer to look at it in the diagram view. So you can see these are the transitions that are available to us. We can, when a ticket is created, it goes into to-do status. From there, we can either close it or we can begin work on it. And once we're in progress, we can close the ticket, we can send it for review, or we can stop working on it to send it back to the to-do status. So the important thing, though, is that this workflow is being used across all of my classic projects. And in order to do that, you can create a project. Make sure you select classic, and I'm going to say Disney Movies is my project name. And you want to click this Share Settings with an existing project. And I'm going to use Agile Coaching Group and click Create. You cannot do this with next-gen projects. Next-gen projects, their schemas stand alone. This also means any custom fields that you create for classic projects, and you have one of those custom fields on your screen, those will carry over to any other project that has the same, any other classic project that has the same screen scheme. So you can see Agile Workflow Scheme, it's the same scheme that I had in that other project. This is also the same. I have a default issue screen scheme, one specifically for epics, one specifically for bugs, and one specifically for subtasks. And I will show you those right now. So if we create a ticket, you can see I've got a custom field here. This is for Scrum teams, and I will show you what I'm doing with this in just a minute. But first, we're just going to create a ticket. I'm going to say Sleeping Beauty, if I can type today. And there's no epic because well, I could put it in one of these epics for a different project, but I'm not going to do that. And I'm going to assign it to me. The only thing that's really required in a ticket is a summary. You have to have a summary, well, and an issue type. But you don't need to have priority. You don't have to have epics if you don't want them. You don't have to have even an assignee if you don't want that, although that would be pretty difficult to manage, I'm thinking. For scheduling, I created a separate tab for scheduling so that I can have my sprints and the estimates for the ticket on a separate view. It's not cluttering up the main view. So once I create this ticket, we can go ahead and look at it. Okay, so a couple of things here. This is the classic view for classic projects. If you go into this gear up here and click on personal Jira settings, when you first set up your account in Jira Cloud, this is going to be on. This is going to be toggled on, this new Jira issue view. I don't like this view. A lot of people do. But if you want to see what it looks like, I will show you. Let's go to our Disney Movies project. Okay, and then I'm going to open up this ticket. Okay, so you can see here that you can select the different statuses here, begin work or close, and you can attach things or create a subtask. But there's limited things that you can do here. It doesn't show all of the fields. You could select the Scrum teams here if you wanted, but it doesn't show the sprints here. You have to go back. You have to go into this more scheduling thing in order to see that information. And let's see, time logged. Interesting. I've never actually looked at that before. But if you turn this off, you can. I'm going to actually have this turned off, and because I don't like it. And if I go back to this issue, okay, so you can see that they're very different displays. This has got a lot more information on. It's got the labels, sprint, the resolution, and none of that is on here. There's labels. The sprint would show up if I had one, but it's limiting. And here I can just click on this edit button to edit the ticket. Here, there's no edit button anywhere. So you have to just, either create the subtask here, watch Maleficent, because she's my favorite. So, and here you can see the subtask down here. It's a personal preference thing. I prefer having the ability to edit a bunch of fields all in one screen like this, as opposed to editing them one at a time in here. So it's up to you. But if we go to the Next Gen project, you'll see that these tickets are all in that Next Gen view. You cannot see a Next Gen project ticket in a classic view, but you can see classic view or classic projects in Next Gen view. So just something to be aware of. Okay. So any questions so far? All right. Moving on. So what we need to do then is we have several projects. Let me look at these projects. We have Disney movies, we have Agile Coaching Group, and we have these two projects that are Next Gen projects. So when we have teams, we have a Dumbledore's Army team, Rebel Alliance team, and we have one other team that I have not created a project for yet. So we're going to go ahead and do that. My other team what is my other team? Let's go in and edit this. The Avengers, that's right. Okay. Any Marvel fans here? My daughter is a huge Marvel fan. So we're going to create a project for the Avengers. The reason why we do this is because boards need to be tied to a project, and we don't want to tie our team board to a specific project, except for our team project. So if we look at this again, I've got Defeat Voldemort as a project, Agile Coaching Group is a project, Disney Movies is a project. Dumbledore's Army is a project, but it is a team as well. And Rebel Alliance is also a project, but it is a team as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a project, select Classic, call it the Avengers, and share the settings with one of these other classic projects. I'm going to use Rebel Alliance because why not? Okay, now we want to set up a board for our team. What we're going to do is we're going to create a filter first. I've actually pre-created these filters. So there's one for there's a set for Dumbledore's Army, there's a set for Rebel Alliance, and there's a set for the Avengers. I've got two different ways of doing it here, and I've kind of detailed this all out in the slide deck, so don't worry about taking notes. You'll be able to refer to the slide deck after this webinar. So, and you can always reach out to me if you have any questions. So, what I've done here is I have created a filter that pulls in another filter called TA Team Assignees, and it filters on my custom field that multi-select called Scrum Teams, and it's looking for anything that has the Avengers in it. And it's also pulling in unassigned epics. The reason why I'm pulling in unassigned epics is because otherwise you may run into an issue where you want to assign a ticket to an epic, but that epic just isn't showing up on your board on that column with the epics in it. And it's a lot easier to just drag and drop it onto one of those epics than it is to go and edit the ticket, go down, find the epic drop down field and search for the epic that you're looking for. It's just a lot easier for me. So TA team assignees, that is one of the sub filters that I've created for that board filter. This one, you can see it's gobbledygook, but I can tell you right now that one of these associates with Tony Stark, one with Natasha Romanova, and one of them with Peter Parker, who doesn't have any tickets assigned to him right now. So our board filter is pulling in anything that's assigned to those people, or here, let's show our field here, Scrum teams, done. Q&A. We have a question that came in. How can I enable the roadmap component to my Jira project? Is it a plugin or a new template? Okay, so two different things. There is the next gen roadmap. If you are creating a project that is a standalone project that doesn't need to share custom fields with any other project or statuses, workflows with any other project, then you can just use a next-gen project that has a backlog, an Agile board for Scrum and Kanban, and the roadmap that I showed you before. But again, this roadmap is not fully featured. It's not as it's not as in-depth, I think. It doesn't give you as much control as the other roadmap that I was talking about. And I don't have that on this particular instance of Jira, but it's available if you have Jira Cloud Premium, and it's called Plans. It would just be up here in your menu, and I can show you real briefly. This is actually the portfolio, the plans that I use for my projects at Envision. So you'll see they come up. And you can see that there's tickets in each of these, and these bars are different colors. These are actually initiatives, which I have tied to projects. Initiatives are another level that is above Epic, but below project in that hierarchy. And you can see the different colors here. One color is for the engineering team, one color is for the design team, and then I've got another color for our video team. And you can set up the teams here in this plans thing under teams. So that's, again, that's something with Jira Premium that you can set up. And if you do that, there will be a Teams field that is available to you in your Jira projects, not next-gen projects, but classic projects. You can add that team field to your screens and be able to assign people to teams, as well as assign teams to tickets. So, all right. So back to our TA board filter here. So we've got, oh no, it's just cleared all of them. That's not what I wanted. Okay, so here in our board filter, you can see we've got the TA team assignees sub filter that I created. The Avengers is selected for the Scrum teams, and then any unassigned epics. So you can see that these tickets are all associated with the Avengers. This epic is not assigned to anyone, and there is no Scrum team assigned to it, so that's why it's getting pulled in here. There is another way that you can do this that's actually a bit cleaner. And that is if you have the JQL search extensions. This is a plugin. It's an additional cost on top of the licensing cost for Jira. And in order to find plugins, you can click on Manage Your Apps and find new apps. So there's all kinds of things in the marketplace. There are Gantt charts. There are plugins that you can purchase that have that Gantt chart ability for road mapping, and some of them, depending on how many people you have in your organization, it might actually be more cost effective to use a plugin than to get Jira Premium. So we're going to use Jira Search Extensions, JQL Search Extensions plugin, and go here under where it says subqueries. And I've created one already for each of these, and it's the Scrum teams is Dumbledore's Army, or the filter is that DA team assignees. So that includes all of that filter includes all of the people that are in the Dumbledore's Army team. So now we've got it saved as DA filter. And if I go back to my filters here, in the DA board filter 2, we'll see this is something that comes with JQL search extensions. You can find all the issues that are returned by that query, which would be everybody who's assigned, who is in the Dumbledore's Army team that is assigned to a ticket, or any ticket that is associated with Dumbledore's Army Scrum team. Or you can pull, and I am also pulling in any epics that are associated with any of these tickets. So if we look at the difference between these two queries, this one is where I've done it without JQL filters, and I'm pulling in all unassigned epics. There are 16 that are returned by this. But if you look at this board filter, and you can see that there's 19. And the reason why is because we have some epics that are not associated with Dumbledore's Army and that are not empty, but they are associated with a ticket that somebody from Dumbledore's Army is assigned to. So it's a little bit convoluted. It's a little bit of a difficult thing to wrap your head around, but I find that this is a much cleaner option. The other thing that we can do here is pull in subtask of query equals, and we're just going to enter in our alias here, DA filter. Okay, and now there's no subtasks in this one, but I think there might be in this one. Yep. So it was 23 was returned, and now there's 26 because there's 3 subtasks in here that are associated, even though they're not assigned to one of my people on the Rebel Alliance. They are still associated with a ticket that is assigned to somebody on the Rebel Alliance, Han Solo. So now that you've got these 2 different ways of creating these matrixed filters, you can see they're pulling in from different projects. This is project A, this is the ACG project, this is the next gen project, and this is another next gen project. So all of these tickets are being pulled by this filter. One moment, we have a couple of questions. How should we assign and write test and QA cases? There's a few different ways we can go about this. You can create an issue type called QA, or even a subtask called QA, or you can create a status in your workflow for QA And when it moves into that particular status, you would reassign it to whoever the QA engineer is. And breaking user stories down into tasks. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at this one. As a customer, I want to be able to log in with my site-specific credentials so that I can access the platform. This is my story. And what I've done is I've created subtasks in here to display the login form, validate credentials, and on error display forgot password screen. So these are subtasks of this parent story. And when we go ahead and look at the Rebel Alliance project, you'll see this is that story. And these are the subtasks in it. So this does not have any subtasks. This does not have any subtasks. But if there, oh wait, sorry, this is a parent. This is a subtask. No, it's not. It's the epic. It's an epic from a next-gen project, and this is why I hate next-gen projects. They don't act the same. So I'm gonna show you real quick on the backlog here. So these tickets in ACG, you can see these are in the Agile Coaching Group project. This is in Project A. And then down here, we have Next Gen project, and it's an epic, and it's showing up where stories and tasks show up. It's also showing up over here. And it's really kind of funky because you don't even see the title of the epic. You can change that. You can actually edit it so that it's, let's see, product catalog. But you can't drag one of these forgot. Okay, there is a bug in Jira Cloud right now where if you edit the name of an epic, you can't drag anything around on your board until you refresh the screen. So I'm going to refresh my screen real quick. Now, I can't take my classic project and move it to a next-gen epic because it says this is not an epic. It says it must be of type epic. So I would strongly suggest that if you use next-gen projects, you only use next-gen projects and only use them with one team. So one project, one team. If you want to use multiple projects and have multiple teams associated with those projects and multiple projects associated with those teams, use classic projects. This is really the only way it's going to work. So in our Rebel Alliance board, we can see all of those tickets that I created. And in the active sprints, we can see this ticket has got these subtasks in it. This weird next-gen epic has this story in it. These are tickets that do not have any subtasks. And we can just drag them from one status to another. When I drag it to this, I have a resolution screen that pops up. You can select from, these are the defaults that come with Jira, but you can actually create different resolutions if these don't work for you. And you can set one of them as the default. I've set done as the default. And then close. Okay. Any other questions so far? All right. Excellent. So this is the end of my review on matrix projects and matrixed teams. I've got a bunch of information in here for you for setting up the your filters and also some basic troubleshooting information. This is if you are a Jira administrator, people are going to come to you and ask you for all kinds of help that may or may not actually be associated with a Jira project that you're on. But I am going to go ahead and show you a couple of these issues right now. So if a user reports that their board or dashboard widget is broken, but it looks fine to you, then that's probably due to your filter permissions. When you create filters, let me pull this back up. All right. And you save a filter, you need to click on details, edit permissions, and it defaults to private. It defaults to only you being able to see it. This will cause you no end of problems. So make sure that you click My Organization and add that and save it. And that will make sure that everybody can see all of the tickets that are returned by this filter. When you use this filter to set up your board, you're going to, if people don't have access to it, it's going to be blank for them. It's going to look like there's no tickets on the board. And again, we go into the board settings. Here under General is where our board filter is, and we can edit the filter shares right here if there's if you find that you're having problems. So you can check those board filter shares. It says that it's shared with all logged in users. That's everybody at my organization, and you can edit it right here. So just real quick, I'm going to create, I created my Avengers project, and now I'm going to go ahead and create that board for them. So create a board. All right. We want a Scrum board for them. Now, you can create a board that is tied directly to a project, just a project, and that's kind of the default for those projects that I set up, like ACG and Disney movies. You can create a board from an existing project. This would create a board and a new project. You can create a board from an existing project, or you can create a board from a saved filter, and that's what you want to do for your teams. You're going to go next. You're going to say Avengers Assemble. And my saved filter, I'll use this one first so you can see the difference. Yeah, link page. Okay. We've got just one ticket in it. But you can see we have all of these epics. Now I'm wondering why there's only one ticket showing up. So let me check my filter. TA board filter, that's the one. Defaults. Okay. And as you can see here, it's not showing these next gen projects or these next gen tasks. It's showing the epics that we have here, and it's showing this one story, but it's not showing these next gen tasks. If I go back to my board and edit my board settings, and I use the other filter, the one that includes the alias from the JQL search extensions. Then I just go back to my board, and now I see those next gen issues. So if I want to see those next gen epics in here, you need to use either the JQL extensions, or yes, but sorry, there's no or. If you want to include next gen issues with classic project issues, you need to use JQL search extensions in order to have that filter work properly to pull those tickets into your project. Okay, any other questions? All right. So basic troubleshooting. We're going to look at, so we talked about the filter permissions. If your board is missing issues, check your board filter first, and any subfilters or subqueries that you're pulling into that filter, and see if, make sure that all of those have wide open permissions. Make sure that your board filter is returning all of the issues you expect it to return. If a sprint manager can't start or stop a sprint, you need to make sure that your sprint manager has correct permissions for wow, this has gone crazy. For starting and stopping sprints. So there is a specific sprint manager permission role, and I'm going to share that with you in just a sec. Okay. All right. So if we go to people, let's look at our team here. Yeah. Get started. Let's look at Han Solo. He's a QA engineer. All right. And all people and teams. Me, you can see I'm listed as my title is project manager. And these are the projects that I'm working on. So this is just, this doesn't really have anything, like the teams that I've set up here, they don't actually have anything to do with the custom field Scrum teams that I set up. I had to set that up separately. You cannot have your teams from the people section automatically flow into your issues. There's no way to pull that data in, unfortunately, at this time. So if I look at the Avengers and I go into the project settings and I look at people, this will show me nobody specific is added to this. And our roles, the roles that we have are really just administrator right now. You can create a lot of different roles in Jira. You can create as many as you want, but each role can be assigned to different permissions to be able to do different things. So if I look at the permissions here, this is the generic kind of permission scheme. I didn't make any changes to this. So you can see for administering projects, any logged in user. For browsing projects, any logged in user. Managing sprints, any logged in user. A lot of times these are not set to that. So you want to make sure that you check that on your project. You will need to be a project administrator to be able to make changes to workflows and so on. And also to be able to change the roles within your projects. So that's something that you need to watch out for. Another thing is if there's missing fields on the screen. Oops, sorry about that. If there's missing fields on the screen, I'm trying to pull up my Firefox. Why is it not wanting to? Sorry about this, guys. Okay, back there. All right. So if somebody is missing fields on a form, so if we look at this, we're going to pull up one of these edit forms real quick, and I'm going to show you a little trick here. Probably not that one though. Let's do the Rebel Alliance because they've got a lot more tickets. Okay, so when you open up this edit screen, up here in the upper right, it says configure fields. You can customize which fields display. So I can say, yeah, show the attachments, or show story points, make sure you show Scrum teams, or you can just show all of them. So if somebody's missing a field, it's probably because they had the custom turned on and had deselected some of these options. Or if that's not it, check where is my field. So I'm going to say Scrum teams. And this will say that it's showing up. It says it's showing up just fine. Okay. Scrum team field should be present on the form you're viewing. If there is a problem, this will tell you where the problem is. It'll say, maybe there's a problem with the field configuration. So you have field configuration so that some of those fields are hidden for that particular project or that particular field configuration schema. Those are issues that you might run into. So lastly, the one problem that we run into sometimes is when you can't move a ticket to a particular status. And that's almost always due to board configuration problems. So if I go in and I change my board configuration under columns and I say, yeah, all these extra in progress ones and this review, I'm just going to not do those. I don't know why. I don't know why those are there. So I'm just going to take them out. And then somebody goes in to, where is the in review column? It's not showing. Very interesting. That's something I've not seen before. I think it's, no? Weird. So if I have all sprints, this is showing that there's more than one sprint that's active right now, and that has to do with that parallel sprints again. So we have parallel sprints turned on, and I've got sprints that are offset. So one team has sprints starting one Monday, another team has a sprint starting the following Monday. So there are two sprints here because this team has taken on an issue from another team's sprint. So I can move this, and it says, you tried to perform a workflow operation that's not valid for the current state of this issue. So that is an issue with either the workflow or with your project statuses. I want to make sure that all of these are in. Okay, and you can see there's some are in review and some are review, and some of them are just duplicates. And this is because we have next gen projects showing up in the board alongside the classic projects. If we were just using the classic projects and all the projects had the same schema, there would only be one to do, one in progress, one in review, and one done. That's it. So now we can see our column is back because we had removed the option for any of the statuses to be in that in review column. It hid the column altogether. So now I can make this done. Boom. So definitely poke around a lot in here in the board settings. I know we're running out of time here rapidly, but there's all kinds of stuff you can do. You can set up quick filters so that when you're looking at your board, I'm going to say project, let's see, ACG. Project equals ACG, and add this. And then if I go back to my board, I can click on this and only see ACG tickets. So this is really, really useful. You can set up all different kinds of filters with this. Definitely poke around in here, poke around in the board settings, and poke around in the documentation that will be on that slide deck that I'm going to share out with everybody after this is over. So, any last questions? We've got 1 minute left. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining my session today, and I hope you'll join another one soon.